Jose, what was going on with that pick and roll defense in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game?
Well, apparently, there wasn't a lot going on because they got everything they wanted. Right? We went up to touch, we went over ball screens, we switched, we trapped. You know, when things are not going well for you offensively, you got to play a lot harder on the defensive end, you know, and I think, you know, the back row and rotations hurt us, but, you know, they didn't run anything differently than they ran in the first half. It just was more important for us to get over ball screens and to trap and rotate. And we were up 8 in the first half, and what happened? They came out and hit those two big threes on rotations. It started there, but you know, it's gotta mean more. It's gotta mean more, especially in those type of situations and those rotations. You look at, and that's what I told them. I go, you know, we'll come back. We're off tomorrow, but people can't be concerned. Really, really good teams and championship teams, they don't care who starts. They don't care how many minutes they play. They don't care if the ball's not going in for them. They can do different things on the defensive end. When we start doing that, and we don't get in our feelings, because body language never whispers. Championship teams, you play for the guy next to you. And it doesn't matter if the ball's not going in. You can do so many other things. You can defend, you can share it, you can go get stuff off the glass. When that changes, then you don't lose these type of games.
Coach, can you talk about Maddie's 17 points in the first?
I thought she had a really good first half.
Yeah.
She was efficient. She was really good. It was a different matchup than she had last game, but she came in and did her job.
What went into some of the lineup decisions down the stretch? AZ had some run in that fourth quarter. And
She did.
Odyssey came back in.
You know, and you want her much more comfortable. We had to get Odyssey back in there because what? Paige was getting double teamed and she was getting worn down. We needed a point guard in there to get us into some things.
Coach, on Tuesday you mentioned that teams might try to start impacting y'all in transition. How did you feel about that aspect of the game tonight?
I don't think transition hurt us today. Downhill drives and the glass hurt us today. Yet we had how many assists in the first quarter? 11 of our first 12 baskets were assisted. We finished with at halftime we had 16. What did we finish with? 22. So we go from 16 assists in the first half, 11 in the first quarter, 6 in the second. Go back and watch the game. The ball didn't move like it should.
Coach, when did you feel the momentum slipping away kind of for good? And at this point, what's the biggest area of growth for this Lynx team?
Well, we got to continue. Guess what? You know, doesn't matter how much I score. Doesn't matter how much I play. You know, if this thing's gonna change, right? It's got to change first in everything that we do, right? It was all fun and it's all excited. We're scoring 90, 100 points. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody's playing. Now it's a lot different, right? You got to get through adversity if you're not playing well yourself on the other things that you need to do. But we were up 9 against Indiana also on the road, you know, and it was the same thing at halftime. But I saw it changing in the middle of that fourth. You know, when the ball didn't get in the basket. And you gotta get stops and you gotta get stuff on the glass. There were critical possessions that we gotta stop and the ball came off the rim and we didn't get it off the glass.
What did you see as the difference in that first quarter when the ball was kind of bouncing around to the later in the game where you weren't seeing it?
We made extra passes. Ball moved from side to side. It didn't matter who took shots.
Christian, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I know later in the game, especially the fourth quarter, that backside defense had some holes in it.
Holes?
I was kind of wondering, like,
So,
yeah, you know, it had like Swiss cheese a little bit.
it was. You're absolutely correct. That's a good analogy.
I know Walker Wheeler is still coming back from Euro season. She's played a lot. Just kind of wondering how much is the minutes kind of for her going forward, or is that just kind of something that you're still
Again,
evaluating?
we're just talking about minutes. Minutes here, minutes there. You know, I don't know, you know, whatever minutes you get, and if whatever minutes she gets with her size, right, she can protect the basket. Correct? So, I don't know. So whatever minutes she gets, or Maddie gets, or Land gets, or Fudd gets, right, just defend, make use of your minutes, make shots, play the right way, you know?
Rod, go ahead.
Thanks. Rob Johnson from the Podium Finish. Coach, you mentioned earlier that this would be a test of how the team responds to a dose of adversity.
Yeah.
How do you balance that hard coaching with those fourth quarter gaps and reinforce the team's strengths to be selfless playmakers?
I don't know. We're gonna figure that out when we come back. They're off tomorrow, and we'll have a good film session. Because guess what? You know, the film's not gonna lie. Film's not gonna lie. You know, coaches accuse, right? And even players accuse, but the film is gonna convict our effort. Did we get over ball screens? Did we rotate? Did we cover backside block? What was our effort? You know. So, and then they got to look at themselves and hold each other accountable in the film room and in the locker room. And when that happens, you have a great locker room. And then things change.
Hey, Coach. Earlier you were talking about some of the good things that
Yeah.
Maddie was doing. I know you just talked about the minutes and
Yep.
stuff like that, but what went behind the decision to not play her in most of the fourth when you needed some of those baskets, and she was doing that when she was on the court?
She did, but you know what? We came out of halftime and pick and roll coverage, and we gave up 2 threes. So that's what happened there.
So that was the coaching decision on
you know,
the defense.
The issue wasn't getting more. You know, we don't have a problem scoring, right? We scored what 86, 88, whatever it was. That wasn't the problem. The problem was on the defensive end. Did she have a great first half? Yes. That's why she started in the second half. But we felt that we needed to go in a different direction defensively.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
also when you took out AZ,
Right.
You just said defense. You wanted defense. It seemed
I
like
thought she had a good game. She played, what, 19, 20 minutes?
Yep.
For someone that hasn't practiced last couple days. It was good. And we're easing her into her being a bigger part and getting more minutes.
And what was your assessment on her
I
defense
thought she was
in the
good.
fourth?
You know, that's why we challenged that call. I thought it was clean up top, right? But apparently they disagreed and said there was lower body contact.
Do you feel like you could have used her defense at the end with Olivia
No,
Miles?
I mean, Isaiah James is a good defender. You know, like Odyssey Sims is a good defender.
Go to Ken.
Coach, how much of the little mistakes do you chalk up to, you know, a little bit of the chemistry still developing, the communication still developing, and, you know, playing with each other still developing early in the
But
season?
those are both, you know, we can chalk it up to that, but I think those are excuses. You know, bottom line is, you know what, you got to get stops, defend your guy, rotate to the backside. We got, you know, Atlanta came in here and they imposed their will and they were tough, right? Well, Howard, Courtney, McBride, they were tough. They were toughness. They made plays and they got stuff off the glass.
Last one, Jeff.
I just wanted to follow up on what you mentioned earlier when you talked about emotions surrounding minutes and starting.
Yep.
Were you suggesting that these are things coming up during the game and impacting the game? And if so, is there a plan in place? Like, are you looking at that as some a reason to give them grace, or is there a sense of urgency in resolving that?
So, I mean, it's real talk and it's accountability. That's what I told them. I go, there's selfishness in this locker room. There is. And you know, you gotta look in the mirror and be accountable on how you played. And don't get upset if you think that you should have played more, or you didn't play enough, or you didn't get the shots that you think you should have gotten. Really good teams, they don't give a shit about that. You know what they give a shit about? They give a shit about winning. Because that's what matters.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.